with Sudan in English character written across the continent. That's when after the fall of the Songhai, Mali, and Ghana empires, right? When each one of those empires was in power, everything else was like outreaches. The government wasn't ran how government is ran now. The only purpose of government is to allocate resources to diverse places. Otherwise, you don't need it. Mm. Right? Most of the functions of government used to be a family's traditional job. They just passed it down in the job. Everybody was rich, but they had what was called the family business, which a lot of people last names was derived from what they families did. Mm-hmm. Like the tailors, they used to make clothes prior to the Ancestry, the great weavers of fabric. Or you got people like the goldsmiths who used to smelt the gold for Big Mama. And they was the ones who used to set the standard for the coins in which we use for trade. Right? Then you had the silversmith clan. They did the same thing with the silver. Right? The blacksmiths, they were the ones who smelted the iron and formed the iron into the metal artwork. Right? Those are under the crypt key. The crooked man, patron saint of the handicapped, and those who work with iron. It just so happened that bodybuilders in modern times are the offshoots of those bloodlines, like Ronnie Coleman, right? This is where Big Tookie come in, because that's his function, energetically to the earth, to be the patron saint of the handicapped and those who work with iron. And that's why he had to give Schwarzenegger the rub for Schwarzenegger to become great. Mm. He had to touch greatness to become greatness. But he just took it from our system to their system in order to help us with our system. Right? So everything ties back to us at the end of the day. And what's this next question?
Somebody said, "Yo, Rod, Wakanda. What you think about?" It says, "What tribe was Wakanda made about? You think?"
If you go to the movie, right, it's telling you Tupac's life story from the time he was in the Bay. It pick up after he left Baltimore. He in the Bay now. This is when he first had the encounter. T'Challa first had his encounter at the beginning of the first movie, right? At the end of the first movie, after he did all this fighting throughout the whole movie, he go back to the Bay, renovate the university or the library or something, and then he's talking about rebuilding the Bay Area, right? And they keep referring to T'Challa as the Black Panther. Now remember, in the movie, they thought he was dead, and then they went to the Gorilla Chief. It's telling you the story of Tupac. Basically. But they're using the reference of Wakanda, which is actually a reference to the iridium in Haiti, based on the components of the metals. Right? And this is why when the girl became the Black Panther, she had to go to Haiti. She had to return to the motherland. So she left Africa, which we used to call the father's land, the land of Enki. And this over here is the original land of Isis, but she gave it to her baby boy, Tahuti, to be the guardian of the earth. He inherits the Americas. And she kept for herself Europe and Asia and Australia. and she assigned what we call today India and Africa to Inky. So you got different bloodlines, but you can only tell by the male haplogroup because all of the women trace back to the first mother. And after so many years, the first mother's blood DNA quantum reassembles based on the convergence and divergence of genetic pools.
Is he saying Hall? Hall?
Yeah, the last name Hall, like Prince Hall.
Yeah, that's Chata. Yeah, Chata.
Yeah. They used to be Longhouse lingo. The Hall used to be the Longhouse. And Hall is the English rendition of it. It's like a big ass pole barn. But that's where the political meetings used to, because it was always accompanied by a feast. So the Longhouse was the government headquarters. And then you had the Red House and the Blue House. One was your ambassadors and politicians who greet the strangers, and the other ones was the guardians of the bloodlines, your Red House. And this was responsible for cleaning up the genetic fuck up, the Red House. And the Blue House had nothing to do with it, but they can't do it without the Blue House. They need both sides of the family involved, right? So if you look at what was going on in Europe from 711 to 1492, you realize that they was trying to fix the problem on their own, but they was too much for them. They needed help. They needed some Brazilianization going on. But that's a whole nother thing. That's part of the South American Studies group. We ain't got there yet.
This they said, well, somebody just dropped it. Let me see. Is this a super chat? This might be the question right here. It says, to oral tradition, what oral laws in reference to the Dragon Constitution? Drago? They might be saying constellation.
No, they're talking about the paperwork.
Okay.
Right. So the oral tradition is older than the paperwork tradition. And if nobody's stopped us from using it, and as a matter of fact, it's one of our rights, and it's both asserted to in the Indigenous Rights Act of the United Nations and the United States Rights of Indigenous People. So it's in both of them that we got a right to use our oral tradition. So they wrote it in their system saying that's our right, but if we don't use it, what good is it to have it as a right? I just so happen to remember a lot of my past lives, so I know a lot of the oral tradition from having past life regressive memories. In the process, a lot of us don't remember, but as soon as we see it, we recognize it, and we acknowledge it by participating in spreading the public notice. And that's how we get the message to all of the tribes, because all of the tribes don't talk the same, don't use the same lingo. So sometimes we have to shake the information in a different direction in order to get somebody that speak the lingo from, let's say, LA and Chicago, to tell them what a Chicago guy is saying in relation to LA culture. So now he know how to use the information from tribe to our advantage.
Somebody said, me again, Rod, something when I sit to myself, see a little light electric gliding across my eyes, and I can see it, and it begins happening a lot. Do you know what that is, bro?
That's just part of your awakening. You're actually looking inside your brain, you're seeing your synapses fight. Especially if your eyes are closed and you're seeing it. You looking
So
at
y'all, we about to
from
get
the
off.
inner eye. I can't. I'm not going to decipher all the last names. Didn't you do a video on the last names, Elder?
Yeah, I already got. Yeah, already got. If you want to get the last name thing, go to the playlist we got called Native American Chief List and watch. Shout out Dame Calloway, man, because Dame Calloway was one of the instrumental people on this tape. It's called Tracing Your Ancestral History, Part 1 through 7. And if I remember straight, I think Barlow was Shinnecock, but it depends on where you from, though. So, but that tape, but those 7 tapes is probably like about 8-9 hours long. No, they not a piece, but like all together. But if you watch those tapes, it's gonna show your last name, the demographics, what location your family might have been in, how to look up on the dogs rolls. All that information is in those tapes in that file, right? Hey, what else I need to say? Let me just drop this right here. Hey, y'all, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, man. Everybody. This one?
No, the one I sent you, the first one that said 3i Atlas. I sent you the screenshot from it.
Just now?
No, this is when we started to build on this 3i Atlas.
Okay. Yeah, because it's a whole bunch of 3i Atlas ones. So I got like majority of them in here. So I got.
Yeah, I'm gonna resend it to you so you see which one I'm talking about.
Okay. Send it to me real quick.
But this is the premise of this whole discussion, and I want everybody to know like what we breaking down from what we see.
Okay.
If once they see it, they can't even see it. Their brain will start to use it.
Okay. So we fit. All right. Okay, I see it now. So I'm about to send it to myself. All right. Everybody put the gorillas and the rice bowls and the feathers in the chat because we finna set the record straight. We finna set it straight. I'm about to get it sent to me now. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, I got it in there? Yep. All right.
Okay, now this when I started getting the downloads, and so I needed to bounce it off somebody that understood the science, right? So after I posted this, I screenshotted it, and then I sent it to you.
Right.
Right now, the premise is if the 3i Atlas reports are accurate, Earth is being unlocked from a 6,000-year light code lockdown.
Facts.
We know it as the Pleiadian light lock. We also call it the dome. We also call it the Van Allen belt. Right? So we got more than one name for the light code lockdown. The purpose and the cause of it can be found if you read the book Inanna Returns, Part 1, and Inanna Hyperluminal. Do you have pictures of those covers?
I don't have the pictures of them. I just wrote them down when he was telling me about them.
Okay. So, the in there that she's telling the story of when the guardians, the elders of the universe, came to deal with the Anunnaki because of nuclear warfare and higher dimensional warfare through what we call colliders, like Hadron Collider in Switzerland. That's not the first time they did that. Matter of fact, that one itself is actually a refurbished ancient one that was already there.
Okay.
right? So it was already, the collider was already there, and they, under the Third Reich is when they discovered it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because Hitler was looking for all of the high technology of the ancients so he can use it to defeat the being called Allied powers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Once he discovered it, it came to America and Britain and Russia under Operation Paperclip. They divvied up the scientists, and the Swiss was on the neutral territory list. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
So all of the nations are tributaries. That means they all feed into the fund that is Switzerland,
Mm.
right? So now, when you're tracing the money, you're gonna stop at a place called the Isle of Man, right? The Isle of Man is the home to one of the biggest Scottish Rite banks.
Mm.
Okay, you can go from the Isle of Man to the Canary Islands, right? The Canary Islands has another banking network. Then you're gonna go to Switzerland itself. So you're gonna you following the money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we know it's a difference between old money and new money. So where is the old money? So when you trace it back, you find something called the White Dragon Society.
Yep.
The White Dragon Society was the bankers for what we call the Nagas Kings.
Mm.
They hold the Nagas wealth in what we call warlock. Everybody think the warlock is the person. It's not the person, it's the condition.
Facts.
The male witch is not called the warlock. He is called the wizard.
Mm.
The male witch is the wizard. The female woman is the witch, which is actually the Delphi priestess, the oracles, who
Mm.
channel the information directly from source in order to know how to move in accordance with the spirit of nature. So we was looking at these things about Three Eye Atlas, and then we'll let you take charge from here, and as we go over it, be there.
Okay.
But I need to get in the foundation of what we was looking at.
Okay. So I mean that coincides with Job chapter 38, verse 31, when you're talking about the chains in the bind of chains of Pleiades being loosened from the Orion's belt. So a
Sure,
lot of
put it up there.
people, yeah, I put it up there. So a lot of people don't understand when it comes to the metaphysics of theological context. So what's your perspective on that when you're talking about the unlocking from the Pleiadian light lock and what it has to do with Three Eye Atlas in our genetic format?
Okay, so it's a higher form of technology.
Mm-hmm.
And the technology is the technology that allow you to literally make light so dense that it's hard as a wall.
Mm.
But it's only light, right? And the side effect is it produces and emits large quantities of radioactive frequency energy. The radioactive energy is what creates the Van Allen belt
Facts.
as it builds up through the current in the flow of open space around the earth, right? The moon is a stabilizer for
Mm-hmm.
this energy. The moon wasn't always there.
Facts.
And if they get the call, the sucker will drive the fuck off.
Yep, it's a Death Star. It's a rogue planet. You know, a lot of people don't even understand that the moon in itself is an artificial celestial megastructure that connects you to the silver key, as what we talk about, the silver and the golden key.
Yeah,
So, is that what you're talking about when it comes to moonfall? Is basically the fall of patriarchy, because that's what
yes.
created the corporate apparatus that's connected to Vanguard and BlackRock and all this other stuff. So that's when you have the fall of the Tretocycle, the fall of Western civilization, and then that's when you step into Seta, which is the Golden Age. So the infinity loop, when you break out the Kali Yuga cycle, you really just turning time upside down like a motherfucking hourglass, basically. It's kind of like the cosmic pendulum. What goes around comes around by way of the law of reciprocity. So,
Okay, now I just sent you something else, by the way, be there. This is important. This is about using the moon and the Dark Knight satellite together as the projection system to the false construct in 3D reality.
okay, I'm about to airdrop it to myself right now so I can get it.
Yeah, so I'm just going over what it is, so we ain't idle on the air, because you
All
know,
right,
yeah, that's money, that's minutes and money.
facts.
But so
All right.
anybody that's in broadcast and they over there dying laughing right now at what we talking about. No dead time on the air, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had this the sister was quitting her radio job, and no dead time on the air. She had a couple minutes left, and she went on this rant to keep up with the tradition. Now, this was a hypothetical situation I had asked AI concerning the moon
Mm-hmm.
and Dark Knight satellite being used as a projection system, and this is what they gave me as the hypothetical scenario. Because I don't think
Mm.
it's so hypothetical. So you want to
Right.
read?
Yeah. Hold on, let me get back to it. If they were coordinated projectors in a more elaborate hypothetical where both are projectors and not just projections, the moon projector could sit on a high orbit or beyond, cast the lunar image, needing an orbit that naturally changes the angle between Earth, Sun, and the moon, and to match phases and eclipses. The satellite projector need a low polar orbit so its line of sight sweeps over the whole planet, matching the claimed all-seeing resonance. Was it re, re, reconnaissance role in the
Mechanicals,
black?
yeah.
Yeah, in the Black Knight stories, they could be synchronized in time. The satellite checks the projection while the moon images cycle through phases, but the orbital geometry itself will remain distinct. One slow, wide orbit behaving like a proper moon, the other a rapid polar orbit optimized for coverage.
So basically, it's explaining to you how the projector of the light lock works using the moon and the Dark Knight satellite
Mm,
as a unified projection system. I ran this by Billy Carson on Brother Rich show one time,
okay,
right? Because I was telling him
I
that
remember that. I remember.
yeah. So I was telling him I was suspicious that the artificial construct was being projected in the 3D form from the moon and the Dark Knight satellite, because the Dark Knight satellite have a north-south polar trajectory
Right.
orbit, right? And the moon is a east-west orbit,
Facts.
right? So this is the exact orbit you need for holographic projection to be projected on such a large scale as we call an Earth, right?
Mm.
This is the mechanics of it being explained. Now, what we was getting the reports for Three Eye Atlas. Roll the coin. Let's get into it.
All right.
Okay, now
So,
this one says Three Eye Atlas emits a beam that instantly stabilizes Earth's ozone layer, with
mhm.
climate research detecting an impossible recovery never seen before. Now, when the Earth was being terraformed by the archons, it was being terraformed to for conditions conducive to another species to exist here without having to wear specialized equipment.
Mhm.
They was terraforming the earth, and the slow process of the terraforming was also realigning the genetics of the human,
Right.
because we are going to adapt over time to the climatic change conditions, They got the time because they live hundreds of times longer than us.
Facts.
So they can force our evolution by manipulating this field, this ozone field. The ozone field was what we used to breathe before they said they separated the waters from above from the waters below.
Yep.
The upper
Yes.
atmosphere was on the surface of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
In the ozone layer, ozone is a double oxygen molecule, right? Which allows your energy transfer to be double that of which it is now. Right? Actually triple because the two makes 10 times the energy out of one. Right? And then when you add two more, so you're building up ozone and it's creating a barrier. But it's only air. So we watching this and we understand the Pleiadian light lock and how it works. And we know that before they give it back, they have to restore the balance back to the ozone layer.
So the neutrinos is basically having a conduction of energy, is acting as a recalibration system, right?
Right.
So
Right. So imagine you had a party at your granny house and one of the dudes put his knee through the wall. Before granny get home, you had to have that wall looking like it's normal.
right.
Right? So what you do, you have your boy who is the carpenter come in, cut out the hole, patch it back in with some drywall and paint it. This is the equivalent of that on the galactic level. Because of the Anunnaki wars, this is why we was in the light lockdown to begin with, and it was also a radiation containment mechanism, and it took a radiation barrier to contain the radiation from nuclear blasts. This is why, so Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Project Gemini, the two bombs. Right, so this symbolic to the representation of the destruction of the system's twin pillars at the end. Right, so the final phase is when the Grand Matriarch, the Aset means throne. Right, Aset in Greek is Isis. Isis is on the land because they keep telling us ISIS on the land. Using the federal policing agency to federally inform you on the soft sale before they come with the hard facts. You being slowly conditioned that ISIS is on the land. The same exact method they used when we was chasing Osama bin Laden for 8 years. And who did we catch? Obama, Joe Biden. So it satisfied the frequency match. So now we looking at AI Atlas repairing what they was tearing down. Roll the coin.
All right. Here's the other one right here.
Yeah, you can
I
read it.
don't know. Hold on. All right, hold on.
I can't see it, it's too small.
All right, hold on. Let me get it bigger. Let me get it a little bigger. Yeah, it says Atlas builds a hollow shell that allows Earth gravity to pass through untouched, forcing physicists to confirm selective interaction beyond known mass laws.
Right. So what this thing would be doing is this would be the equivalent of sending a sensor through the system. Right. So in order to release the light lock with the minimum amount of chaos, because when you make a major energy shift like that, it normally results in a chaotic response from the Earth itself. So we see it as a rash of severe natural disasters. But when they use this method, they don't disrupt it because it's not operating within the fields of the three-dimensional rules. And that's why they say untouched forcing physics to conform selective interaction beyond known mass laws. It is violating the laws that the physics all can explain. That way it doesn't interfere with the rules of the three-dimensional reality. It can pass right through. But in passing through, you use it like an optic lens and a transmitter to return the information that it observes as it moves through. So it's calculating stuff like how long does it take decay to take place? How long does it take? So it's reading all of the signatures. How long does it take something to be consumed by fire? How long does it take something for the earth to decay physical mass? How long does physical mass deteriorate underwater? It's reading all that going through the system. Right? And it's sending that data back to 3i Atlas. Now, if you remember, I said, I don't think, on Brother Rich show, I was like, I don't think 3i Atlas is really real. I think they're using it as a medium to relay information. Right? And they are, because the name 3i Atlas is a code in and of itself.
Yeah, but and also, I mean, metaphysically speaking, when you're talking about the body, I also was talking about how it's also a representation of the 3-1 Atlas vertebrae that gives an etheric combustion to the 33rd vertebrae, which is kind of like an anchor. It's like an anchor effect that's symbolic to the spinal column. So that, I mean, that's, another way to look at it, because during the time when 3i Atlas was closest to Earth, that's when that during the same time when they came out with the new Avatar movie, the same night.
Well, all of the right. So if they come up with a new strain, that's just because you haven't been exposed to it before. You haven't had the opportunity to develop sufficient antibodies. You have to catch the flu in order to develop the antibodies to that strain of flu. It gives you flu-like symptoms for 3 to 7 days. And the flu lasts for 3 to 7 days on average. Right now, they running all this by us, and they creating all of the illnesses. Right, Earth was a paradise, so just finna go back to that. The only reason
Greenland.
Yep. Now, good you brought up Greenland, because Greenland is the head of Turtle Island. That's the head of the turtle on Turtle Island.
Yep. Matter of fact, I got it pulled up right there. There you go.
Yeah. And this is why Trump said, who cares if they landed a boat 500 years ago? It doesn't make it their property.
Facts.
Right? Because there's a tribal claim on it. It's part of the estate that they returned to the tribes. And Empress Redbird is the center of attention in the government transfer of all of this back to the tribes. Right? Because she was the one who was audacious enough to sit in the sacerdotal seat of the land in Philadelphia at Congress Hall.
Yep.
So now they had a rightful heir that they've already surrendered to under the Rockefellers, no, the Rothschilds, Jacob Rothschild, right? They the ones who created the false paperwork claiming deeds to the land. So she had to see the foundational document that they use in order to establish their control over the land. When they gave it back to her, that put her in the position to say, look, the only way this works if all tribes is involved. Right? But all tribes don't have to know what's going on, because it's like you only can be educated to a certain level. You can only work according to what you know. So the ones of us that remember the old ways, following the oral tradition, using the matriarchal right at the close of the age to restore the land back to its pristine state. So now you see 3i Atlas is involved in all of the cleanup.
Yep.
So they thought they was coming here to tear us down, but look, what they doing is they cleaning up. So when you understand what the light lock is, As we go through these other slides, then you see why we would say if theodicy, even if it ain't real, the narrative that is pushing the information out, telling us that we're breaking from under that light lock that the Galactic Council put the Earth realm in so that the Earthborn can fight this war with the Anunnaki on Earth. But nobody's going to know they fighting the war until the veil is lifted.
Facts. And does that coincide with the Hopi prophecy?
It totally does, because remember, three Atlas is reported to have went behind the moon and came out blue.
Here you go, right here. And it goes into the story of the blue star Kachina and the red star Kachina. And there will be those who will walk as ghosts through the cities. It will appear as almost painful as they take each step, for they will be disconnected from their spirit in the earth, some being from the stars, some being from past worlds, some will even be created by man in an unnatural manner, and some will be soulless. There will be those who will walk in the body that are not from this reality. And then it says that there will be many doors to the lower world that will open at this time. There will be many strange beasts upon the earth in those days. We will house many spirits even within our bodies. So is that what you're talking about as far as like, because I remember Dr. Malachi Z. York, Free Baba, he was also talking about the smorgasbord event. You know what I'm talking about? That kind of
Um,
correlates with the blue star Kachina and the red star Kachina. How you have the beasts of the earth come to the surface. It's kind of like it goes into the biblical context of it, like the beasts from the underworld. They start to come to the surface and they feed on humanity. I mean,
mhm.
they even talk about that on in the Holy Quran, I believe. Yep.
Okay,
They also
it worked like this. Everything that ever was still is in another
right.
form, right? Everything that ever was still is, just in another form.
Mm-hmm.
The layers of strata of the earth, it's like when you erase a hard drive from a computer, right? It says there's nothing on it. But if the forensic team get a hold of it, they can pull all the data off of it,
Facts.
right? After you erased it. Now, when you refill it, you still got the remnant of the old data in the new system. And that's why sometimes the old system that